Okay, I believe it's recording now.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so like I said, what we didn't do last time is we didn't introduce ourselves. So real quick, I'm Dwayne Lacey, philosophy professor, hosting this channel, and Bakyuti and I are both in Kyrgyzstan, but we're doing this thing. Uh, and Bakyut, who are you? What are you doing? Why are you doing
Yeah, my name is Bakit, but professor calls me Bakit, which I really love. So I'm a software engineering student, junior software engineering student at AUCA and minoring in applied math, but I just love philosophy. Not, yeah, for now, we're reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics,
it? Right.
line by line.
Line by line. All right. Speaking of which, let me share it. There we are again. You can see it, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So I have two questions for you to begin. Ready?
Yeah,
Oh, by the way, AUCA means American University of Central Asia, located in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan.
yeah.
All right. Uh, so my first question is, where did we leave off in the text? Do you remember?
Uh, if I open the part, I remember, like, I kind of remembered the whole text, I guess. And it was like the second part.
Right. Yeah. So we just agreed to call it chapters. Yeah. We'll come back to that. One thing that I'm pretty confident, I wasn't as confident before, but you see, it's a very common old school editing thing. Um, you see how all this stuff in the table of contents, see how it's all brackets?
Yeah.
The, it's not parentheses, it's the square parentheses, the brackets. You see what I mean? Like seven, friendship between unequals, and it's not parentheses, those are brackets.
Okay.
When you see brackets, in old school editing, that means that's the editor or the translator and not the author inserting something.
Hmm.
So, uh, like, remember we kind of, sorry, I'm just scrolling down now. Remember last time we said, oh, we forgot about happiness?
Yeah.
Yeah, but actually, you see it's got brackets around it. So remember, I sort of said that could just be Irwin inserting that subtitle.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's what's happening. So in other words, when you see brackets, traditionally, when you see brackets like this, it means it's not part of the original Greek in this case.
Oh,
It's the translator or the editor inserting it. And so even here, see there are brackets. And so last time I believe,
it was the best good part.
yeah,
That was,
we were here, right? Chapter two, section one,
yeah.
and that's where we stopped.
Yes.
All right. Okay, that's my first question. Now my second question uh, is less technical. My second question is like what from our last conversation, since we see where we stopped, but from our last conversation, without don't even pay attention to where we stopped. But like what is there something that you remember the most or that stands out to you the most? Like that makes you think like that you're like, oh, like if I say what what's the first thing that comes to mind that we talked about last week that you remember?
That's just definition of happiness. Like how do you define the happy and like what is actually happiness and how to get it. So that's pretty
Okay.
good came to me.
Do you, well, why? Why do you think?
Because we're actually talking about like my happiest moment in my life, and we like couldn't fully define though that it was the happiness, you know? And so yeah, and another one like talking about the good, like
Mhm.
like the what is the so like so again like the my list stuff like the better one is like what is it actually?
Right. The most of all. Um, okay. All right. So another. So you're saying that the fact that we couldn't really identify or define what happiness was, that stuck out to you. That's what you think.
Yeah.
That like that's your big takeaway from last week. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. So what we can do is how well, how playful do you feel right now?
The who? Plato?
No, how playful? like do you want to mess around like with what like do you want to like move forward and really get into Aristotle in more detail, or do you want to play around with what we already covered?
Let's go. Let's play around with what we already covered, and then
Okay. All right. Um, well, have you memorized sentence one
I'm talking about the good one. Yeah. Every action, every craft. Yes, I remember.
yet? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, just read it.
Every craft and every line of inquiry, and likewise every action and decision seems to seek some good.
All right. So just now, um, have you have do you have any examples of like someone who did something that you would call really bad?
It was bad, you or
Bad, like an evil thing or a terrible thing?
oh, like from my personal, or like from the history, or
Whatever you want.
okay.
I'm
I
sure you
don't.
can. I'm sure you can think of some things that you describe as a bad thing to do, right?
Okay. So what I would say. Hmm.
You can give an example if you want.
Okay, let's go like with the banal, like cliche one at some point. Let's go with Hitler. Like it was unethical to kill that many people in such that way, or maybe like Japanese. I don't know the guy. So during the World War II, they had the part when they did the medical experiments on people, like
Hmm.
really cruel ones. So probably that guy.
Okay. Uh,
So it's bad to make harm to others in
so
such manner.
right. So compare that to what Aristotle just said.
Um, every craft in language. So what good was he seeking, right? But doing the bad stuff?
Right. Was there any?
Hmm. I think there was. Maybe for him it was good to. maybe do some scientific stuff, or he was just crazy, like schizophrenic. I don't know how to say it.
Schizophrenic.
What was
Well,
that?
yeah, schizophrenic is how we
Yeah.
say it. Yeah, well, okay, we don't, let's not worry about mental illness. Just, I mean, it's going to come up probably later or soon. I don't know, but um, in the first session we had, and it came up again in the second session. You started to explain the like Aristotle seems to be talking about, remember, these little goals in order for larger goals.
Yeah.
Like, why do you make a good horse saddle? Well, why do you make a good horse saddle to ride a horse well? Why do you want to learn horsemanship to win a victory in battle? Right? And
Mhm.
you use the specific mathematical term. You remember it?
Recursion.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you describe, like, I mean, maybe Hitler, I'm not sure which Japanese guy you're talking about, but maybe Hitler is too big. Can you think of something a little bit more everyday
Okay.
of some
Um,
way somebody doing something bad?
some bad. Let me think. Um, Maybe like for example, you're driving on the road. You're driving on the road, and no, actually, let's say I'm trying to cross the road,
Yeah.
and like there's a guy who's not stopping in the red line. He's just driving so fast and like almost hitting people. Like there was a chance that he would hit the person. So maybe that's the bad thing.
Okay.
Something casual. That just happened with me today. So yeah.
Oh, really? You all
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, no, no. He didn't hit me, but it was like,
Was
yeah,
he? Are you saying he was trying to hit you?
no, 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 not trying. He was just a red light, but he didn't actually stop and just drive through.
So, what what would Aristotle say about that in terms of this one sentence?
Every craft. I don't actually know. Maybe he was. What good was he seeking? He was maybe hurrying, or maybe he just didn't care. And
Hmm.
so, what was he seeking by doing that?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe like a friend of his was in trouble and he was rushing to help.
Right. That might be a case.
Uh, or maybe he was just having fun driving fast.
Another,
Would that make a difference? And I'm
I
not, again, not rhetorical. I mean, does it make a difference? Because let's say, because obviously we'd be more inclined to say, oh, well, if he's speeding past the red light because he's worried about like his friend or something,
it's fine.
and
He, yeah.
he wants to help someone. So, but if he's speeding through a red light because he just enjoys driving fast, are those different to you? Do you think?
Yeah, it does. It is different, I think.
Well,
The
what's the difference?
It's the first one in my like because he's helping another one and he's like doing trying to do some good. He is actually kind of excused from it. Meanwhile, in the second, he's just seeking maybe pleasure from it, from
And
driving fast. It actually also reminds me of Foucault and Chomsky debate, where
okay,
he actually gives this example as well. I just remember it.
what example?
Of a red light. So for
Who gives this example? Chomsky?
Chomsky gives.
Yeah, sounds like a
He
Trump.
said,
Okay.
yeah,
What
he
does he
says,
say?
for example, so there are certain rules. Like Foucault was talking about the discourse and everything again. And like you said, for example, if there's a red light, the guy actually should stop and do nothing. But meanwhile, if there is a red light and on the opposite side of the road, there is a terrorist who is trying to like kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And if he just crosses the red light and hits the guy who's trying to kill others, so he's justified. So that was the example of Chomsky, actually.
Okay. So why does this make you think of that?
I don't know. I just remembered the example first, though. like, and
Yeah,
the second,
well, your brain did something. So what's the
yeah.
connection?
And another one is like how I don't know. I don't want to say artificial because it's not the proper way to say, but how like flexible it is, like to change it, to change the perspective how we look at it and the way how we actually
Can
see.
you, what do you mean flexible? What's flexible?
The red light. The first thing is that like if you go straightforwardly, crossing red light is bad. Like doesn't matter what, right? But there is some certain cases when it changes. Like it
So you
becomes
mean a rule has rules have exceptions?
yes, even like how rules are even like it's hard to say what is exactly bad and how it's hard to say what is actually good. Like
Well, yeah, it is hard to say. How do we figure it out though?
I don't know, we're usually told by one. Maybe it's our
Well, I
religion.
mean,
Yep.
so take your terrorist example, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you're the guy driving the car.
Okay.
You're stopped at a red light, but you see uh some it doesn't have to be a terrorist. Well, I don't know what it could be, somebody with a gun shooting people, right?
Right.
I guess that's terrorism.
It is.
Okay. And you say, wait, if I'll just go hit this dude and stop him, right? That,
Yeah.
that's the example that you're thinking of, more or less.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so now what are you trying to accomplish?
Trying to save people. Actually, my good is to save more lives to
You're
stop.
trying to save everybody except the guy with the gun.
Yes.
Because what are you trying to do with the guy with the gun?
Stop him, or even like maybe.
Maybe what? You're gonna hit him with your car,
Yes.
so maybe you want to murder him.
Yeah, it is exactly it is. Yeah, there is a chance that he will die.
So your intention is to commit murder.
It actually is.
Or is your intention to help people from being murdered?
It's more likely the second one.
Well, isn't it both?
Yes. Both.
In,
Yep.
in order to stop this group of people from being murdered, I'm going to murder this one person. What if let's say there are five people with guns shooting five people? I know we're getting into the trolley problem, which I hate,
Yeah.
but the question is, the question we don't have to solve that abstractly or for ourselves necessarily. Our job is to see how does Aristotle help us, right?
Uh-huh.
How our job, Bakyut, is we got to wear the Aristotle sunglasses, right?
Yeah.
And then once we do that, then we can decide if Aristotle's right or wrong, in the way he explains things. So, but in order to do that, we have to kind of assume that Aristotle's right.
Yeah.
And this is a frustrating thing that I think a lot of, not so much after you get used to it, but like when students are dealing with this sort of thing, sort of for the first time, like philosophical arguments,
Uh-huh.
I think they're given this pressure to be like, mm, they're to be critical thinkers, which is a good, you want them to be critical, but they're also, they somehow feel like they have to show off how they disagree with the author. You know what I mean?
Yes, the FIS class somehow.
Yeah, and I think that that's not untrue, but in order to really be able to disagree, you have to first understand what it is you're disagreeing with.
Right.
And in order to do that, you kind of have to follow the author first and say, okay, I understand what the author is saying. Now I know why the author is wrong. But if you just find, because you tell me if I'm wrong, but I know I'm not wrong. but uh, but usually what happens is students will use sort of semantic ways of disagreeing with an author. Do you know what I mean by that?
What is semantic way of disagree? I don't know what the word semantic actually means. I'm just Googling it. Semantic. It's like when they try, they never take off their own lenses, like the ones they always have.
Yeah. Well, what did you find when you Googled?
It says relating to meaning in language or logic. Let me go to etymology actually.
No, okay, yeah. Well, you can, but it might actually be more confusing. Yeah, semantic will give you a funny thing if you go deep into the etymology. I'm not sure you want to go there right now.
Huh.
Like when we say, oh, that's a semantic argument, what we mean is sort of like it's superficial. You're not actually dealing with the point that someone's making. You're just dealing with the way they expressed it in their language. So, like, I could pick on the sentence you used to describe what you meant, and I'll tear apart your sentence as though that means that what you meant is invalid, but it doesn't mean that necessarily. Does that make sense?
Somehow, can you give like a example of it? Maybe like super simple one.
Um, well, yeah, let's see. Well, let's take that five gun people and five people they're shooting, right? So I don't know. I'm not sure if this is a great example. There are much better examples. uh,
Mm.
but since that's the one we use, um, uh, let's say, for example, so let's say let's go back to just the one person with the gun
All right.
shooting a group of people, right? And that's all you observe. You don't know anything about who has the gun and who the people are that he's shooting. Let's assume it's not just a random group. Let's say it's like a specific group. Okay.
Okay.
Now, now you, and let's say you said, well, I'm at a red light, but I see somebody shooting a group of like five people, and that's that's like an act of terrorism. So I'm going to stop the terrorism, right?
Right.
So a semantic argument might be something like, well, you say terrorists, but what if those five people are the terrorists and the one person with the gun is trying to stop the terrorists?
Oh.
And like I said, I'm not sure it's a perfect example of semantics. There are much better ones. But what happens is now we get caught up in the way you expressed your idea while avoiding what your actual idea is. Because your idea is that this person's doing something bad and they should be stopped. and these people are innocent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if someone can just throw like, well, how do you know that? Da, 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 da. Maybe they're the terrorists, and he's stopping terrorists. Maybe they're all wired with suicide bombs. Like how do you know? Which might be a good question, but it avoids the the real question that you're asking, which is if I'm seeking to basically murder or stomp, let's just say stomp, knock unconscious, uh, this person with my car, can we call that a good, because I'm trying to save people, right?
Yeah.
But if someone gets caught up in who's a terrorist and who's not, that becomes a little more semantic. Does that make sense?
Yep, 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 yep.
I have a feeling if somebody's listening to this, they're going to be like, that's not semantics, that's something else. But that's semantics.
Okay, it's like being super picky with the sentence itself and not the idea in general, and just trying to.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Like,
All
did
right.
you read the thing again that you looked up, just that first definition?
Was that? Ah, okay. In etymology or in general?
The general one.
General one, relating to meaning in language or logic.
Yeah.
Relating.
So it's like if I'm coming up with a semantic argument, I'm more attacking your expression, the way the language you use to express an idea, than I am the actual idea itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, makes sense.
Okay. All right, that was a bit of a tangent. So, oh right. So what we have to do is figure out first what Aristotle was saying, and what the reason the whole semantic thing came up was because I feel that a lot of times students, which makes sense. I used to do it too, and I probably still do it sometimes, where if I'm under pressure to demonstrate that I'm a critical thinker, then I'm kind of encouraged to challenge the author, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, challenging the author when you've only read like the sentence once might not you might not understand what the author is saying. You might just maybe you're just being semantic because you feel like your job is, I'm not talking about you specifically, but one's job is to figure out why the author is wrong instead of figuring out what the author is saying and then figuring out why the author is wrong.
Uh-huh.
Hence, we go line by line.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So, but it's still a question if somebody's doing something which we would say is bad. Let's go back to that guy. Remember, he's going to help his friend. So he speeds through a red light, right?
All right.
And then you used a very uh, important, use an important word when we said, well, maybe he's not trying to help anyway. He's just speeding because it's fun, and use the word pleasure.
Yeah.
So are you saying that if I do something just for pleasure, it's not, that pleasure is not a good thing?
Um,
This is very much a Plato question, by the way.
like if I look at my argument, that's actually what I'm basically saying, according to
So
my
are
argument.
you saying that one is for the sake of someone else, like I want to help someone else, and that the other is for the sake of my own pleasure, so that the second one is selfish, whereas the
Wait,
first one is selfless?
huh.
I'm asking.
Uh,
It's a question.
yep, I'm thinking. Yeah, and there's another factor actually that is playing is that the second one actually like breaking the law of the state or that place
Hmm.
for his own pleasure, not for the other. So basically, that's what I'm actually saying, I guess, is
Well,
that yeah,
okay, here's a different example. This actually happened. Um, you know how I don't know if they still do it at AUCA, but there's the students, the blind students, if they still have the blind school students.
yeah,
And you know, they're so impressive the way they like I have trouble walking the streets of Bishkek when I can see. I don't know how they do what they do, you know, but they got the sunglasses and the walking cane in front of them, and they know where they're going and everything. Um, so there was a group of students from the blind school, uh,
uh-huh,
and I was just walking home, and one of them, uh, you know, on the when you cross the street, you know, and the people who are walking, the pedestrians, they also have, you know, the like, okay, green to walk across the street, red don't walk, right?
right,
So this guy just walked while all the cars had a green light. So he basically walked right into the middle of traffic, but he's blind.
right,
So, uh, what, you know, and people were yelling, stop, stop, you know,
uh,
um, to him. But you know, so I ran out after him and grabbed his arm and, you know, motioned to the cars to stop. And so I grabbed his arm. I said, you know, you're crossing at the wrong time. So here, just come with me. And so now the question is, uh, I really wasn't at any risk. You know, I'm not trying to tell like a story like, oh, Dwayne, you good guy. No, fuck that. What I'm saying is like, just wanted to help the guy get across the street and no problem. Like I wasn't in any danger. I could see where the cars were and all that.
uh-huh,
But I did break the law technically by crossing to help him, right?
right,
And you say, oh well, see, it's a good thing because you put yourself at risk to help him. But what did he want? Why should I help him? He wanted to cross the street and he did it illegally. Yeah, he was blind, but none of the other blind people crossed the street illegally. Maybe he knew. What do I know?
right,
So let's say, you know, go back to the previous example. Guy runs a red light to help his friend because he's late to help his friend rob a bank.
oh, damn,
So, like, how do we really figure out, like, he, I think it's important here. And this, oh, I wanted to say something about you. I made a note of it. There are going to be times, at least for me, where I'm not 100% sure about the translation.
all right,
And I think, uh, you know, what we should do is we should carry on with the translation. But if you're up for it, we should have like Like we should make a note of places where we have a question about the translation and wonder about the Greek.
Yeah, the book one, the green book that you showed.
Yeah, and then we should gather all those little moments and check out the Greek as a separate session.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? So in other words, like we don't have to go to the Greek now,
Uh-huh.
but like I'm interested in here, trying to highlight it, but it's not happening. All right. Aristotle, the translation says seems to seek some good, right?
Uh-huh.
Seems to. And I'm curious if that is in the Greek because it gives Aristotle a little bit of flexibility. Like it appears to be out of some good. But it could go the other way too. It appears to be maybe for evil, but it's actually for something good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is I'm gonna try to keep track of, I'll just call them Greek moments.
All right.
And so Greek moments, things where we'll come back after and check out the Greek and see what the Greek actually says. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So I'm in my notebook, and you can help me if you want.
Oh,
Uh,
sure.
Greek moments, one, section one, and I'll just put scenes under Greek moments. And that means that later, at some later date, we can go back and look at the Greek together if you want. If you want.
Great. Well, let's go.
Yeah. But not now. Like we'll get like what the I think that's more efficient this way. It's like we make a note like, oh, when we get through after we get through stuff, you know, we've got a bunch of Greek moments, and then we'll devote a whole separate section to looking at the Greek moments. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right,
Perfect.
cool. Okay, so uh, and then that is why some people were right to describe the good as what everything sees. And I know there's a asterisk there, so it seems like Irwin wants to say something about that too. Um, but I know that in our first session, which was not recorded, that was your big thing. Like, what are all these recursive goods? What's the big good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the yeah base case.
Okay. Um, well, what I wanted to do is just throw that, like, it's good to good. It's what we want to do is try to figure out what Aristotle's saying first, and then criticize it. Right? You okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
So another Greek moment from our last session, but I'll write it down here, is I'm not sure we quite got the use of this other things right. So I'm going to write down chapter 2, section 1, other things as a Greek moment. Because I know we said it might be the gold, but it might not be.
Uh-huh.
But we want to move on, right? So,
Yeah.
all right. So, moving on to a new part of the text, brand new part, right? Going
Hmm.
going fast, man, going fast.
So quick, so fast.
Okay,
Okay.
so here we go. Chapter 2, section 2. Let's read it. Go ahead.
All right. Then, does knowledge of this good carry great weight for our way of life, and would it make us better able, like archers who have a target to aim at, to hit the right mark?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So stop there because section three comes up, even though it's just like nine. Now you see that bracket and
Upper,
around. Yeah.
yeah.
So that tells us that that's probably Irwin inserting our for grammatical reasons, but also saying that it's missing from the Greek. Just, just, it's not important. We don't have to worry about it. We'll just go with Irwin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess it's easier if we pick up from the last sentence of the previous. Clearly, this end will be the good, that is to say, the best good. And I think that's he's pointing us in that direction that you were asking about in the first session, that first question, like, what's this best good, this capital G good? Remember?
Yes.
Right? That
Yep.
so that I mean, what good could there possibly be other than the best good, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, what's the highest? Notice these words: highest good, best good.
Mhm.
I don't know. You could do bad grammar and say the goodest good, the good of all the goods. But that's that recursive thing that you were talking about. Like all these like sub goods or these mini goods are aimed at this highest, best good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, no, let's. What I love about this sentence, read it again, and I'll see if you notice it. There's something different about this section two sentence.
Okay, let's go. Then does knowledge of this good
Now, that
carry
would be this good, right? I think he means that best good, right?
the best good? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then does the knowledge of this good carry a great weight for our way of life? And would it make us better able, like archers who have a target to aim at, to hit the right mark?
Yeah. Now you know archers, a bow and arrow,
Yeah.
right? All right. So it's just a simile.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do you think you so okay, first of all, do you notice anything different about this sentence?
Well, it's I don't know, maybe giving like mm,
Grammatically, do you notice anything?
then there's no
I'm just scrolling up here.
more. Okay,
Now,
it's like it reminds me of the part when he talked about the science, and
hmm keep going. What about it?
so like giving analogies, and he's actually like I asking rhetorical questions. So
You ask what?
rhetorical questions,
Rhetorical what?
question, like he's asking a question
Uh-huh. Have we
that
seen?
he,
Yeah. Keep. Okay. Questions. What questions is he asking? When did
he
he ask a question? Do you see
oh,
one?
not actually here. Oh no, yeah.
I'm
That
looking.
is
I'm looking for one. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm looking for one. I don't see any question marks until.
here, yeah. That's the beginning, I guess.
But then now read the next sentence.
If so, we should try to grasp in outline at any rate what the good is and which is its proper science or capacity.
All right. What do you think he means by capacity?
Like, how good is it? Like how much is it like that good? Is it? Yes, like
Well, what? Okay, what is it? Why proper?
how is it proper?
What makes it like this might just be an English thing. What if I use a different word instead of capacity? What if I use the word faculty?
The what?
So here,
Faculty?
yeah. If so, we should try to grasp, in outline at any rate, what the good is and which is its proper science. Now stop. Which is its proper science? What's he talking about? Science.
Uh, Almost like any by science. Like I remember from the part previous, it's like something like anything at some point, or just any action, any like profession. Like I don't know.
No, stop thinking profession. Stop thinking
Mm.
physics. Stop thinking astronomy.
Yeah. It's
What is the word? Where does the word come from? Skio, Latin.
skills, observe. So, was it knowledge?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. SCIO in Latin means I know.
Oh, skill.
So what is its proper knowledge or capacity? Now, I use the word faculty as an alternative. I'm not sure. How about ability?
Science or ability? Huh? Like by ability of what? Like what that good can do?
Which is its proper knowledge or ability? In other words, maybe think of your hierarchy again.
Okay. Sensation, imagination, intellect.
Mhm. There you go. So if we're talking about like um uh there's this thing that happens with Plato and that maybe more so with Plato, I don't know. Where but it also happens later after Plato and Aristotle. It happens much later, like almost like there's this idea that certain objects in the world or in our experience match up with certain capacities or abilities that we have. So, for example, when you see a color,
Hmm.
if you close your eyes, can you see the color?
No.
So, which capacity is most, note the use of the word most, what's most predominant in the ability to see a color? Height. There you go. Yeah.
Sensation actually, like
Yeah. That's right. So when he says which is, so when we're talking about the good is our object, right?
uh-huh.
What is the good and which is its proper science or capacity? How can we know it? What faculty or ability do we have to use in order to know the good? Sensation, imagination, emotion. Remember last
Yeah.
time we talked about happiness as like that's the good, right?
Uh-huh.
And we weren't sure if you're like, we hesitated, right? Because maybe it's a feeling, so maybe it's an emotion. That would count as a capacity, the ability to feel emotionally. I mean, it's a little complicated because it requires some kind of intellect, probably. But
Okay.
but remember, that's the hierarchy doesn't stop moving up and down. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost never either or. Like it's almost never just sensation.
Yo, spectre, right?
Yeah, like even imagination can't be just sensation, but it can't just like what is imagined, but it requires some sensation. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Picture a purple triangle.
Yeah,
Okay, how did you do it?
with my imagination, actually.
Okay, have you ever seen a purple triangle?
Mm,
Maybe.
I've seen purple, but then I've seen triangle, and I combined both.
Yeah, but have you actually ever seen a triangle? You should.
Triangle. Hmm.
A real one?
Maybe with three sticks. But
Well, but cute.
and
We
yeah, but
gotta play this game again.
no,
Have
no,
you?
no.
You should know whatever. If you say yes, I see a triangle, I'm gonna keep asking you.
Let's
And
try it one more. Maybe the our like audience will.
all right, you want to go through it? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Okay. So you say you've seen a triangle before.
Oh yeah.
Where?
Mm, in a geometry class, or just
Where in a geometry class? Yeah, that would be the most obvious place to see a triangle. When did you see it in your geometry class?
uh probably seventh grade, like in a book, the picture of the triangle.
You saw a picture of a triangle
Yeah.
in a book.
Yes.
Was the book a physical book?
It was
Yeah. And so
rectangular.
and so if you took that page where the triangle was pictured
Uh-huh.
and you put it under a microscope,
Okay.
would what would it look like?
Probably not like a triangle, I'm sure.
Why not though? Like let's say like the triangle has three sides, right?
Uh-huh.
And three angles, hence the name triangle. So let's say you looked at one of the three sides under a microscope
All right.
and it's ink printed on paper, right?
Yes.
Under a microscope, what does ink look like printed on paper? Is it two dimensional?
It's more likely one actually, like dots, 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 dots. Goes like
Hmm.
if you go dive maximum it's two
You're
two.
going in the wrong direction, my friend.
But actually it's like two. Like okay.
How many dimensions was the book, the physical book?
Actually it's three. Like
Three or maybe
you mean the page or the
you
books
said it
itself?
was in seventh grade. Are you still looking at the book right now?
Ah no, no, no.
So maybe there's another dimension, not just three. Maybe
Fourth.
which is what?
Which is the I remember the string theorem.
No, no, don't go to string theory. Let's just call it time.
Uh-huh.
So you opened up a geometry book
Yeah.
in space time
Okay.
and looked at a picture of a triangle,
All right.
which is by definition a two-dimensional object.
Exactly.
So I guess what the mistake that we all make is that we think of like, well, if I have access to four dimensions, even though we can talk about time being a limited access, right?
Yeah.
Um, because I have access to to third and fourth dimension, therefore I must have access to one and two, right?
Mm.
But when you think about it, if by definition a triangle is a two-dimensional object, every time we draw one or represent it in a book, or even imagine it, we do it in 4 dimensions. We can't escape to the second dimension, be like, oh, I'm just gonna stop 3 dimensional and fourth dimension. Like I'm gonna stop space time and just do 2 dimensional stuff now. We can't do that. We're trapped in all four. Like seconds are ticking away right now as I speak.
Mm-hmm.
If you could stop time, tell me how, right?
Yeah.
So what that means is, ironically, in a way, maybe, is that every representation of a one-dimensional object. Well, first of all, can you think of any one-dimensional object? You can.
I
You
can't.
learned
Yeah.
it. You learned
Yes.
it in geometry as well.
Yes. It's just like the dot on a piece of paper, but
A
it's all
dot on a piece of paper. It's called a point. A point.
point.
Yeah. Have you ever seen one? Now you should know the answer.
No.
Why not?
It's hard to imagine actually, like without
Well,
go if
because if you imagine it, you're using your senses, and your senses rely upon three-dimensional objects.
yeah.
Every geometric shape, circles, squares, triangles, whatever. Even, to make it a little more complicated, even when you see like a nice geometric picture of a sphere, right? Now, technically, that's a three-dimensional object, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But have you seen a picture of a sphere in a geometry textbook?
They tried to portray it, but not fully.
Right. But see, what you're doing, just saying, oh, because the book is two-dimensional, they're trying to make it three-dimensional, but it's not really three-dimensional.
Yes.
But it's actually the exact opposite. Not only is it three-dimensional, it's fourth-dimensional.
Huh.
Because you, my friend, you and me, we're stuck in space-time, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
So every triangle you've ever seen is basically four-dimensional, and therefore is not a triangle.
Oh, damn.
It's only a four-dimensional representation of a two-dimensional object. Get it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is the good, and which is its proper science or capacity? What do we use to understand or know what the good is? Right?
Uh-huh.
But let's go back and look at the question he asked.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
So, then does knowledge of this good carry great weight for our way of life? And would it make us better able, like archers who have a target to aim at? Hit the right mark. Right mark.
Mhm. Keep going.
If so, we should try to grasp in outline at any rate what the good is and which is its proper science or faculty capacity.
Right. Does that make a little more sense then?
Yeah.
So we have to, so he's challenging us with two things. Well, more than two. His question, I'm not sure section three, where he gives us the task, I'm not sure yet that that actually fully satisfies the question he answered. Like, the question he asked is sort of like, does knowledge of this good carry great weight for our way of life? Does it really influence us? if we know what it is? And would it make us better able to hit the, yeah, you notice the word right. It's a good Greek question. Like the right mark. What makes it right?
I don't know, maybe kind of utility, or maybe the of it like
What?
brings some what? Yeah.
What I was going to say is like there's a, what happens to us is as we get lost in this stuff, um, it, we have to maintain a sense of what our assumptions are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, and also the assumptions that Aristotle is making. Like, what is, like, if you can, here's a little secret, if you want to destroy an argument or a text, don't go semantics. Ask what assumptions is this argument making?
Right.
And if the assumption isn't correct, then you can just tug that loose thread and the whole thing falls apart. If you can show that it's based on a bad assumption, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the assumption is that uh, the good is a good thing to know, right? Then does knowledge of this good carry great weight for our way of life? Okay, that, and would it make us better able? So Aristotle's challenging it, like, okay, maybe if we know what the good is, does it actually help us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he says, if yes, if so, if it is the case that knowing what the good is does carry weight in our life, then we should probably try to figure out what it is, what the good is, and how, right? Which is its proper science or capacity. What do we use to figure out what the good is? What do you think?
Mm, maybe.
Because
Like,
based on your idea of happiness, based on what you said last time,
yeah.
you were like, I don't know, it's a mental state, but it's a good feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's an emotion.
Yep. For me, it was like the first option. Like, I think that Aristotle's like assumes that as well. Like, it's more like a state, not like the emotions itself, like the
When you say state of mind, do you mean like,
permanent, like it stays longer, and like I don't know,
so,
something that is like constant.
okay.
Meanwhile, like the emotions are like pretty like sinus graph, it goes up, goes down, it goes up, goes down.
So happiness is not just an emotion, it could be a constant state, unchanging.
No, actually, it is actually more likely it's like a state when you reach it and it goes like flow and it goes like a line, goes constantly. Maybe that's what he's trying to say, I guess.
Well, what do you think? I mean, what do you think?
Mine, I think I more likely agree with him right now. Now, so, like, yeah, because like for example, maybe there can be acts that can maybe harm me, but make me actually happy.
Can you give
Like,
an example of that?
um, Driving fast on the road, like the
Okay.
car. So maybe I will really like how fast it can go, like and everything. But the harm that it may bring is much more bigger. And like, is it really making me happy? Like, or maybe the people who I don't know. Mm, again, maybe like I don't know why, but the analogy with doing drugs or like maybe just something like that, like doing like I don't know, I forgot the name of these people. Was it like hedonists or like
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hedonist.
he
Yeah.
just hedonist? He just seeked for the pleasure, and that was the main goal. Like it doesn't matter
Right.
what pleasure that is, so it's just the pleasure.
Well, yeah. Okay. You good. All right. Are you taking notes?
Yeah.
All right. Um, so I've got my Greek moments. I'll keep track of those, I guess.
All right.
But what I have is happiness, constant state, question mark. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then what did you just say about pleasure? It's temporary.
Uh, I think it's yeah, yeah.
So happiness and pleasure are not the same because one is constant and one is temporary.
Yes.
And you think Aristotle said that, or that I think that's you saying that.
That's me more like the saying, I guess.
All right, good. Well, we'll test it against what Aristotle said. Um, Now, see, this is where Aristotle starts messing with. Look at section 4. Read it.
It seems proper to the most controlling science slash knowledge, the highest ruling science. Again, Melista.
There you go. Now you get, yeah, good man. I'm so glad I didn't have to point it out. You're seeing it, right? I told you
Yes,
it's everywhere. The
it's
most,
going.
the highest, right?
Yes. It's the most
And
control.
also note this, seems.
Seems.
He's doing it again.
Yes, like seems.
And
So,
this is a controller. It's not called a hierarchy, but no.
was it?
We refer to the hierarchy because you're familiar with it, but a hierarchy also implies power and control, right?
Yeah,
So the most controlling science,
the top.
the highest ruling science.
So what is that knowledge?
Well, yeah, we don't know yet. Um, Keep reading. Now,
All right.
but read now. Look for. You said you see the word seems.
The what?
You see it
Ah,
seems.
seems. Yeah.
Okay, we already talked about that. Seems, right?
Uh-huh.
It was already in the first sentence.
Yes.
Now read section 5 right here.
Let's go. And this appears.
So that now this is kind of a Greek question because is Irwin just translating the same word in two different ways? Seems and appears. Is it the same Greek word? Or are they actually two different words? Is Aristotle using two different words? We don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, he's doing something which, because seems and appears in English are almost synonyms, depending on the context.
Yeah.
we should keep looking for these Bakyut. Like we should keep looking for scenes, appears, stuff like that, and also most highest, greatest, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
All right. And this appears characteristic of political science.
Why is he bringing up political science here?
I don't know. Maybe
Well, ask, but look at what he said in section 3 and 4.
if we should try to grasp in outline science of capacity, it's political science. All right. So it's about the like um, faculty and everything.
Well, look at this. I mean, okay, so you tell me what you think he just said. If so, okay,
Uh-huh.
we if so what? If so, in other words, go back to section 2. Then does knowledge of this good, this highest good, right,
Uh-huh.
carry great weight for our way of life and would make us better able, like archers, da da da. If so, we should try to grasp an outline what the good is and which is the proper science or capacity, right? Which is its proper science capacity. Now, go real close and slow, compare it to that sentence that just came before in section 4.
Uh-huh. It
It seems proper. Go ahead, you read it.
seems proper to the most controlling science,
Mhm.
to the most controlling science, the highest ruling science.
And
And this appears characteristic of political science.
so, what has he just said?
So he's like saying like there is it seems like the political science is the top of the top, the highest of the highest.
Yeah,
That
that's what he seems to be saying.
like the knowledge of political science. Like not science, like knowledge of what is political science? My first question would be like
Okay, good question. What?
like
Well, you remember in the first session, which we did not record, we talked about the political animal, right?
yeah.
And so, do you remember why he said humans are by nature political animals?
Check that out. Not quite really better or worse.
I think the important thing there is by nature, and also political doesn't mean like being a politician, right?
Socializing thing?
Yeah, like we as humans are social beings by nature. We're naturally social. Like
Uh-huh.
we even a hermit who might grow his own food and never talks to anyone is still part of a community in some way.
Uh-huh.
I guess that's arguable, um but he's saying by nature, like we're not. Remember, we used the example of like animals which are solitary versus animals which are, like lions typically live in a pride of lions, a pack of lions, and wolves in a pack of wolves, right? Whereas leopards and panthers, they're solitary.
Yeah.
So that sentence, humans are by nature political, means that we belong to a community of other
Right.
humans. You remember that?
Yep. I get. Yep.
Okay. So uh, so Aristotle says we should try to grasp and outline at any rate what the good is, this highest good, and how to study it. What are we studying? What's its proper science? What's its proper branch of our knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Says it seems, I'm emphasizing seems,
Yep.
proper to the most controlling science. Look at all these, right? The most controlling science, the highest ruling science.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? This appears characteristic of political science. I guess that makes sense. If humans are by nature political animals, then the knowledge that's the highest would be political knowledge, right?
Yep.
All right. But notice he uses seems and appears. He could be setting us up for something because he might be fucking with us. So keep going.
All right. Four, it is the one that prescribes which of the sciences are to be studied in cities and which ones each class in the city should learn, and how far. Indeed, we see that even the most honored capacities, generalship, household management, economy, right, and
Mm-hmm.
rhetoric, for instance, are subordinate to it. Oh gosh, I don't know why the just I just remember Foucault. Again,
Uh
it's
huh.
like it's
Good.
like the it's like when he talks about the discourse. It's like it's about the way what discourse actually says, what is the knowledge actually is. Like and like the same somehow applies here. Like that's the politics that decide which one is the real knowledge, which one is not. Like I guess.
Yeah, keep going. What are you trying to say? What
So
like
probably
when we talk about political knowledge, think don't think like, that whatever news channel you're watching.
or yeah, or government, right?
Right. What do we mean by political knowledge according to Aristotle?
Hmm. Probably the set of rules that we accepted, assumed, and like and live by them, isn't it? Like how our society is, like how our state is run by them,
Yeah,
or
I
no?
mean, yeah, so if humans are by nature political animals,
Mm-hmm.
and we're wondering how to be a good human, more or less, or what is this thing that we're all trying, like what's this good? Then maybe it would be knowledge of uh, this in section 6, because it is the political science, political knowledge is the one that prescribes which of the sciences ought to be studied in cities. Cities is the Greek word for city is polis. It's where we get the word political.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought we covered that. Yeah. So when he says political animals, he's kind of also saying we're city, but you don't have to think of city as urban. Like
Mm-hmm.
could be a village.
Like people gathering around, right?
Yeah,
Something
we're
like.
talking ancient Greek cities. So those were actually like they might as well be Athens, Sparta, Crete. They're all different city states. They're different countries, if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then which one each class in the city should learn. Do you remember Plato's Republic at all?
Yeah. Yep.
Does this remind you of anything?
It's like the philosopher should be the ruler one,
Okay.
and that the best like society is built by the philosopher sitting on the top and the others is listening to him. Was that? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so then it talks about we got Um, he says, even the most, again, most honored capacity, right?
Uh-huh.
Generalship, war hero,
Yeah.
household management, rich guys,
Yeah.
rhetoric, people who give good speeches.
Uh-huh.
They're all subordinate. Remember your recursive thing?
Yes, like they still refer to the base case.
Yeah, are subordinate to it, to political knowledge. Now, keep going, keep reading.
All right. And since it uses the other
Now,
sciences,
what is it here? Just so we're clear.
was it?
What, and since it what? What's
Ah,
it?
since it, like political science,
Yeah, good, okay.
and since political science uses the other sciences concerned with action and moreover legislates what must be done and what avoided, its end will include the ends of the other sciences. And so this will be the human good.
Now, I don't really have to explain any of that to you, do I now? Do I? Do you have a question?
I can get the part that so this will be the human good.
Right.
What are you saying by the human good? So it's the good thing that it can actually that kind of control thing, or like
Well,
so the
he's saying, like, if we go back, right?
uh-huh
What what's this highest good?
political science.
Yeah, he says it seems that's political science because all these great other sciences that we honor, right?
Yeah,
They all are subordinate underneath
yeah.
to political science. And the goal of those other sciences is political science. So that must mean political science is what we mean by the good,
Huh.
the highest good,
Okay. All right.
right?
Uh, yeah, and now it also reminds me of like set theory in discrete math when there's like a Euler circuit, like circle, one small circle and the bigger one, and the
Mm-hmm.
smaller one is inside and it goes all the inside, inside, inside. So political science, the big guy. Okay.
All right. Now read section 8, though.
So for even if the good is the same for a city as for an individual, still the good of the city is apparently a greater and more complete good to acquire and preserve. I think he's answering the question of the what should the guy on the traffic light do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think he's trying.
Like, let's continue reading.
Yeah.
Like, for a while, it is satisfactory to acquire and preserve the good, even for an individual. It is finer and more divine to acquire.
Note these we call them superlatives. Finer, more well, superlative is like most fine. They're like these comparatives. Finer, more divine.
Uh-huh.
That's on the spectrum, right? Most
Yeah,
okay. Keep going, sorry.
sure. It is finer and more divine to acquire and preserve it for a people and for cities.
Mm-hmm.
And so, since our line of inquiry seeks these goods for individual and for community, it is a sort of political science. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Now you gotta go to your next class, right?
Yeah,
Well, this is a good place to stop then because we don't want to start chapter 3. So it seems like Aristotle has identified at least if we want to if we want to know what the highest good is, that all other goods are for, it seems like he, at least so far, seems like he's saying it's
Kind of like feels like it's like the political for now. Like the big guy is like
yeah.
political one, but there might be maybe bigger one. But for now, it's like political. So let's actually let's start. Let's not start from the small ones and just start from the big guy.
Yeah, it's
Not,
like what are all these for? And he says it seems like it's for this branch of knowledge called political science.
mm-hmm.
Because political science is concerned with the well-being or the goodness of the polis, the city, the state,
uh,
of all people.
right.
Yeah, I mean a lot happened in these few sections. So I'm sure when we start again next week, we should probably start just to remind ourselves what happened.
Uh-huh.
We'll start right here and then go into this because now he's going to say, okay, because remember he said what branch of knowledge we should grasp and outline at any rate what the good is. I mean, it seems like he said, okay, so the proper science is political science. Now, what is it? And it seems like that's where he's going to start saying what it is.
What the political science itself is, right?
Seems
Uh,
like it.
uh-huh.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you. Loved it.
Good job. Any last questions or anything?
No, I think it was pretty clear. Seems clear. So,
All right. All right. Well, have a good rest of your classes and a good day. And will I see you on Saturday for the reading group?
yep, I will come.
Great. I have to send an email to everybody too.
Yes, please. And the link to the movie, probably, hopefully, it'll be in English. So, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look at the link. Is it not in English?
I haven't checked it yet. I usually do on Fridays. So, yeah.
Camilla sent it to me. I just forwarded what she sent.
Okay. Okay.
So, but
Oh,
I have to email everybody to show them that I have a new email address.
okay.
Has anybody else confirmed or RSVP'd?
About what?
Do you know if anybody else is like, because I haven't, if they sent it back to my first email, then I won't have, I will not have seen it.
Oh, makes yes, exactly. I'll probably forward it to you after a class.
All right. Well, you've done enough, man. Don't worry about it. I'll
Oh,
just
no. Okay. All right. All right, sir. Thank you so much. I loved
thank
it.
you. All right. Me too. Have a good time and I'll see you Saturday.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.